So back in 2020, you guys might remember a little documentary that was released called Tiger King: Murder, Mayhem, and Madness. If you don't, then where the fudge have you been for the past 5 years? Joe Exotic is a name that has been burned into everyone's minds without us even wanting it to be. This gay little tiger trainer was one of the highlights at a time when COVID was at its peak. In my opinion, had this documentary been released when all of us weren't forced to stay in our home, it wouldn't be as popular. But unfortunately for us, it was, and to this day, we are still hearing stories about the people involved. If for some reason you have no idea what I'm talking about, here's a quick summary in 6 words or less. Gay, tiger, revenge, hitman, murder, no need for a season 2. But to this day, the star of the documentary, Joe Exotic, has been in jail after he tried to hire a hitman to kill that bitch Carol Baskin, who's a whole nother video's worth of a person. But what's really funny, and it's gotten a bit sad at this point, but for 5 years now, Joe Exotic has been begging for a presidential pardon. At first, he was asking Trump for a pardon because that's who was president. Then when Biden got elected, he started asking him for a pardon like he wasn't talking shit about him, thinking that Trump would get re-elected. Biden, not being one to make decisions for the meme, ignored every single one of Joe's pleas for help. Until, you guessed it, he went back to asking Trump for a pardon, even changing his profile picture to an AI-generated image of a neon sign that says Trump. Joe Exotic is next. I'm convinced if Hitler was our president, he would ask him for a pardon. But it's been over 5 years now, and he hasn't even gotten so much as a like from someone even remotely close to either of the 2 presidents that have been in office since he's been in jail. And as much as we like Joe, there is no doubt that he hired a hitman that later decided it was better to tell on him than be arrested for murder himself. But someone else in the documentary that you might remember was this guy named Doc Antle. Real name, Kevin Antle. Current name, Bhagavan Mahamayavi Antle. But before this outrageous name change, he was like Joe Exotic without all the qualities that get you to be a star of your own documentary. He owned tigers, he charged people to pet them, he was accused of being a cult leader, which we'll get into soon. But this guy was working on movies like Ace Ventura and Dr. Dolittle while Joe was trying to find his next boyfriend. However, after season 2, they released season 3, which would focus solely on Doc Antle and his cult business, where he was being accused of pressuring women into getting plastic surgery, choking and breaking one of his employees' ribs after she tried to leave, even meeting one of his partners when they were 11, and then by the time they were 14, he essentially kidnapped her so that they could live together. So basically, when you look at these guys side by side, Doc is way worse than Joe. Joe was fueled by the passion to save his tigers. Doc is just a pedophile, allegedly. But despite all these accusations, what he was actually in trouble for was more on par with what he was known for, which was trafficking animals and money laundering, something he was already in trouble for back in 2023 when they caught him selling lions. However, they only fined him $10,000 and banned him for 5 years from possessing, trading, or interacting with wild animals, which is basically like banning a drug addict from ever doing drugs again. It's not gonna happen. But this was all happening in Virginia, meaning that the punishment only applied to him if he was in Virginia. If he wanted to open a park on the border of Kentucky right before you get into Virginia, he could do that and Virginia can't say shit. However, when the FBI is after you, that's a whole nother problem that you don't want to deal with. And at the same time he was dealing with everything in Virginia, the FBI arrested him back in 2023 on those money laundering charges, as well as illegally trafficking animals including leopards, cheetahs, and a chimpanzee. And just 1 month after getting that $10,000 fine, he pleaded guilty to 1 count of illegal trafficking and 1 count of money laundering, bumping that $10,000 fine up to a $250,000 fine, as well as 5 years in prison, followed by a 3-year supervised release. Now, it says in this other article that he is actually facing 10 years in jail, and they gave a little more detail on what he was guilty of. Like, I guess it says he sold or bought cheetahs, lions, tigers, and a chimpanzee without the proper paperwork, and it's like, really? That's your only job? How are you not getting the proper paperwork? That's like going to a doctor and them telling you, well, we don't have the paperwork to do the surgery. We don't have the proper one, so we're just gonna do this, and if anyone asks, just say you signed the right things, and you're like, I'm here for my flu shot. The fuck are you talking about? It also says, though, that the FBI tapped Antle's phones, and on a recorded phone call, they got him trying to buy a baby chimpanzee, or at least talking about how much it costs, saying it could be up to $200,000, even showing that he said, I had to get a monkey, but people won't take a check, they only take cash, so what do? Go to the bank? But it says that he is being sentenced today. I don't know when, but if while I'm editing this I find out how long, I'll just pop up a graphic telling you guys how long that just cuts me off mid. Yeah, guys, out of all the cult stuff he was accused for, none of that had anything to do with his arrest. They're like, he what? No, yeah, we care about the animals, and us saving the animals, and the animals that were being illegally trafficked. What do you get out of our building? Who let you in this building? How are you here complaining to us? Until tomorrow, guys. Peace.